The Panthers begin the homestand with a bang, scoring often against the league's best defensive team.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Friday, November 14th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. That is Nich Fairbanks. You can follow him on X at Prudential0. Joining me on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. Shout out to everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix on the North America's #1 sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. So, Florida Panther fans, grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show to discuss everything in the world of the Florida Panthers. And today we are going to break down the Panthers' 6-3 win over the Washington Capitals as they begin a stretch of 7 of their next 8 games at home to finish the month of November and 11 of their next 12 right before they go on a long road trip out in the mountains in the second week of December. And Nick, what a way for the Panthers to get this win. And preview, when I was discussing this on the preview, I discussed how the Panthers just needed to find a way to get the Capitals to the box. And after the Panthers went to the box in the first period, I'm looking at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight penalties in a row from the second to the third period. And the thing is that the Panthers kept the top dogs at bay. I have a question. Did Alexander Ovechkin even play tonight? Because I feel like it didn't feel like he was on the ice. I know he got one shot on goal, the stats say, but it wasn't really a noticeable game from him.
No, I think he had one actual chance that went off his stick because I think he was near the blue paint. But other than that, no, he was not noticeable. The only times other than that, one chance I noticed was when he and Forsling were kind of going back and forth on each other.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was kind of fun to see. But other than that, no, it was the Tom Wilson, the Jacob Chikrin, it was Vera Harvey. The new guys of the Capitals, core now that, you started to take notice of. But, obviously, Ovi's still scoring. So I think that's all that matters.
Yeah, not an off night for Alexander Ovechkin on this one. And really what I thought of it was when I break down what the Washington Capitals did, it was just, okay, you allow the bottom 6 guys for the Washington Capitals to beat you. You look at the first goal by Brandon Duhaime off that shot from Rasmus Sandin. I thought Rasmus Sandin was a bright spot for the Capitals, getting the shots from the blue line through on multiple occasions, one of them being a goal, one of them being a primary assist. And then Justin Sordiff later on in the game in the third period getting that goal when there was a drive from Chikrin to the net and a little bit of a blown defensive coverage there from Seth Jones on that one, allowing the easy tap in. But it really came down to that. Alexei Protas didn't have a single shot on goal as well, and he had an outstanding year last year, so it was really about that. And I know they're missing a big piece in their center with Pierre-Luc Dubois out for 3 to 4 months, so it really goes to show how missed he is in that lineup. And then Logan Thompson, the first time all year that he's given up more than 3 goals, and he'd only given up more than 2 once, and that was just 2 games ago against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And really, you see 17-6 shot on goal discrepancy for the Washington Capitals, but the Panthers had more of the better high danger chance. Natural Stat Trick has the high danger Corsi 4 at 6-5 for the Panthers, and really it was really about quality when it came to the 6 shots versus the quantity. When you look at how the Panthers were able to win a good amount of races, although there were some one and dones, you saw a lot of the times that the league's best defensive team, which their top 2 pairs, outstanding on the season, you saw them a little bit more spread out on Thursday night.
Yeah, and that's what the Panthers, do to teams and everything. So, you may be the best defensive team by metrics and everything, but as soon as you come in and you have to play against Panthers hockey, it does change you up a little bit. You have to win every battle. You have to be aggressive. Mm-hmm. And, I felt like the defensemen were more laissez-faire, like they backed off a little bit. So I think, it was a testament of the Panthers' will and coming home from a long road trip to actually put in a effort like this, because in previous years, we're used to them coming back from a long road trip and barely showing up, first game back.
Yeah.
But it was a breath of fresh air. And, I think everybody kind of pulled the rope tonight.
No doubt. And I it's funny because the timing is strange when it comes to discussing certain points. And I was discussing about the lack of goal production from the blue line, but hey, in the previous game, the blue line was doing a great job of getting those pucks and the forwards finishing and getting those screens on. Panthers did get one of those goals on the power play from Seth Jones later on in the game on the double minor, and with a great screen by Anton Lundell, by the way, and Forsling with a primary assist as well. So those defensemen were truly doing a great job in getting those pucks around the net front battles for the forwards as well, which two goals from Sam Reinhart on the evening, which the first one we thought that Brad Marchand got point number 999 at first there, but great job from Carter Verhaeghe on the blue line for getting those pucks through. So it was also the fact that they were patient, skating, waiting for lanes to open. And then also Randy Moeller mentioned this on the broadcast. They noticed that Logan Thompson was committing down quite a bit when the Panthers were battling down low. And then you see that for Florida, when Anton Lundell set up Sam Reinhart for the second goal, how once it got on his tape, a nice little handle, open it up, and then he's able to roof it.
Yeah, and that was just basically off of a word battle that, Lundell ended up winning and just threw it out in front. It's almost as if, they had played together before and they had that little thing going on. But yeah, I think the thing with Thompson, over the last two games, and I'm starting to see this with a few teams right now, is that they could be really hot to start, but I think they're going to start to cool down a little bit and they're going to come down to their probable career numbers. But tonight, I had a feeling that he was having trouble tracking the puck, and that's why he was going down early. You can't say that about Tarasov. Tarasov was peppered with shots from the outside, and he looked fantastic again.
Comfortable.
I mean, what is that, 5 games in a row that he's looked good, and he probably deserved wins in 4 of them, I would say. So I would say goaltending is least of the Panthers' problems right now. It was the goal scoring, and hey, you showed up against the best defensive team metric-wise, and you put 6 on them. So, hey, sometimes, hockey gods shine, and they smile upon you.
Yeah, and Tarasov, it might look that he gave up 3 on the score sheet, but yeah, the Panthers' ability to win those battles and then force them to the half walls as well, and then the few times that the Panthers did give up those quality chances down low, the Panthers were also ready there to backtrack. There was one play where Tarasov was sprawling a little bit, and then Luke Cunning closes in on Nick Dowd to push him off the puck to not even allow a shot on goal as well. So there was also great moments, and the fourth line also set a big tone with how much they were just keeping the puck in their O-zone. And yeah, like I said, 17-6 shot on goal discrepancy, but the shot attempts were 22-15. So there still was a lot of time where the Panthers were in the O-zone. And also, once again, the Panthers were protecting the blue line. The breakaways were at a 0. I don't remember one on the top of my head from tonight's game on the fact that of Washington getting those opportunities. So it was a lot of those low quality chances versus the high quality.
It definitely was. So, when you're on the road, you want to simplify your game, right? You don't want to think about too much. You don't want to change too much, because if you do, then not everybody's going to be on the same page. I almost feel like they did that same thing tonight, just keep it simple. It's our first game back. We're just getting back comfortable with families and, our homes and stuff, but it shouldn't change what's going on the ice. And I felt like that did happen. There were some times that I was kind of concerned because Washington was able to control the puck in the Panthers zone a few times, and ultimately they did end up as goals. But overall, the Panthers did a fantastic job defending and clearing the puck out in front of Tarasov.
No doubt, and it really started with that as a main point as to why the Panthers were able to defend, and also they didn't allow the Washington Capitals to gain momentum. They score first, Panthers 28 seconds later, and then when they cut it to 1, Panthers respond just over 4 minutes later. So it was just they didn't let them get to their game on a consistent basis on Thursday. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss more of our 3 stars of the game and the moment where we knew the game was won. We're going to discuss that and more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch. And let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money is going and how to make it work harder for me. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarch.com with code LOCKEDONNHL for half off of your first year. Segment number 2 here on this Friday, November 14th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day on North America's number 1 sports podcasting network, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Armando Velez here with Nich Fairbanks on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. It's a Panthers win, which means that we are going to be discussing our 3 stars of the game and the moment where we knew the game was won, as the Panthers defeated the Washington Capitals by a final score of 6-3 from Sunrise, Florida, to begin their long homestand. And I'm going to give some honorable mentions first for the Panthers here. I'm going to give to Brad Marchand, who scored point number 1,000 on those 2, and then after Luostarinen scored on his empty net goal, the whole team came off of the bench to celebrate with him, and once again, congratulations to Marchand. And hey, the secondary assist was Anton Lundell there, and then the goal was Luostarinen. So how fitting was it for Marchand, for the Finnish phenoms to have a point alongside with him. Evan Rodriguez is another one, set the tone defensively, got the quick goal when reading off of that rebound. So another honorable mention there. But then number 3 star for me, Anton Lundell, 3 assists on the night, was all over the place, winning his fair share of battles on the evening, and also on that setup from Sam Reinhart. Smart play to shoot the puck in. Luostarinen was the first one near the corner, and then supporting him behind the net right before he got it back to Sam Reinhart. So a lot of quick decisions that Anton Lundell truly made on the night for him to get those assists for him. But then number 2 star for me, Danil Tarasov. Although we argue that the quality of chances that Washington got weren't of high quality, still 37 saves on 40 shots. You're peppered. You stay busy throughout the night, and also it's been a long time coming from first win as a Panther. A lot of frustration. I truly thought that he deserved that game against San Jose Saturday. I thought he deserved the Philadelphia game as well on the first road game of the season. So congratulations to Danil Tarasov for win number 1 as a Florida Panther. And think about it. His GAA coming into this was 2.50. When it's a 2.50, you should win most nights. That's why goalie wins aren't stats. But number 1 star for me, Sam Reinhart, 2 goals on the night, battling at the net front for him on that first goal for him, and then the handles, like I mentioned earlier, from there to open up the lane. 8 goals in his last 9 games, and this was the time of year last year where Sam Reinhart was starting to get hot. 14 goals in a 15-game stretch from October to late November. And also in January of 2024, that's where he had his stretch of 8 straight games with a special teams goal. So He's known to get on some of these hot streaks, and right now we are witnessing that hot streak from Sam Reinhart. So number 1 star, Sam Reinhart. The floor is yours.
Yeah, most definitely deserved for Sam, and I'll go into a little bit about that in just a second here. But my third star is, it's been harder every week that I've been coming on here now who to choose, because I want to be different, but I want to be the same at the same time. But my third star tonight is going to be Niko Mikkola, and for the sole reason is that he got under Tom Wilson's skin.
Yes.
And didn't allow anything to happen. Tom wasn't running around hitting anybody or putting anybody through the boards and putting him in the hospital, but Niko did definitely check him, and there was no other issues after that. So he's my third star. My second star is going to be Anton Lundell, because he did assist on the last 3 goals of the game, which to me did separate, the Panthers from the Capitals and ultimately winning this game. He's also still growing, and he's showing to be more effective every single game. This was supposed to be a Washington team that was going to smother you and not allow you to have a lot of chances, as we saw in the first period. But, if you keep grinding and you win your battles, that's where you're going to make your goals, or you're going to be, making progress against a team like this. And he really showed that. So he's my second star. And my first star is going to be Tarasov, just because he finally got a damn win. It, again, well-deserved. He should have 3 or 4, in my opinion, right now. But, as you said, goalie stats don't matter sometimes, especially with the 2.5 goals against average. But, let's see what he can do, if Bob needs some extra, rest. I mean, I know off of this road trip they wanted to get Bob a little bit extra, rest. So, let's see what Daniil's going to do when he has more games in front of him. I'm actually really interested to see if he can get into a groove.
Yeah, and I really truly like how the Panthers planned this when Bobrovsky started the game in Vegas, West Coast time, starting a little later, and then which once again the Panthers do a great job in studying and using sports science in order to get their starter a lot of rest. So there's jet lag when you come back and everything, and them leaving the next day as well, and then getting that extra rest right before another different start time that the Panthers are going to have, a 5 p.m. game on Saturday. So the Panthers are strategizing this well, which Bob wasn't even on the ice for morning skate. Roberto Luongo was there with a little bit of a tease with those pads, maybe. So maybe something related to the Winter Classic. So, but let's see. We just got to wait and see on that one. So once again, the Panthers are doing a great job in just taking care of their own and everything. But good point that you made as well with Niko Mikkola getting under the skin of Tom Wilson. Really, he was not really happy on that holding call that he had on Eetu Luostarinen. Also, the Panthers also weathered certain storms with Donovan Zabrango not having the best game. Honestly, he had that poor pass out of the zone that resulted in the first goal by the Washington Capitals, and was beat on a clearing attempt by Washington as well, that resulted in him going into the box. But also, nobody's had a rough 2-game stretch than Nick Dowd. He crashes into Freddie Anderson 2 days ago. The Canes go after him, and then he gets a double minor on Zabrango, getting the hold and then the high stick as well. So nobody had it worse than Dowd in this last week. But the moment where we knew the game was won for me was the second Sam Reinhart goal, where he was where Anton Lundell set him up very nicely. And the thing is, like I said, the Panthers did not allow the Washington Capitals to gain any momentum. And the fact that the Panthers were able to respond in the first quarter of that third period and to at least create another 2-goal deficit. Yeah, we discussed how the 2-goal deficit is the least safest lead in hockey, and the Panthers were able to separate themselves even more and just and when it comes to their spirits, a lot higher. And then just it's such a downer for Washington being on the road in a tough environment for them to play.
Yeah, so I had a feeling you were going to go with that, and I got to take my Lundell fanboy hat off for this one. I'm going to go with the Carter Verhaeghe goal. Wait, no, it was the Seth Jones goal. Poor Carter Verhaeghe, man. I've been screaming his name, just trying to give him some energy so he can actually score, and he did. But Seth just beat him a few seconds prior. But I think that goal right there is what got it for me because one, I don't think that Thompson saw it at all. Lundell was right in front, and
Nobody did.
yeah, apparently. But the way that Washington was going and that they had gotten it down to what was it, a 3-5?
It was a 4-2 game still at
a
that
4-2
point.
game.
That's what made it 5-2.
So yeah, that made it 5-2. And then I was just like, okay, I think the Panthers finally have this. And then all of a sudden, you have that third goal that goes in. I'm like, okay, that was insurance. So yeah, we're definitely good from here.
Mm-hmm. And the Panthers were able to shut it down from there. And hey, even Washington got another one. So although that wasn't necessarily the GWG there, which Sam Reinhart, they actually provided a stat prior to his GWG tonight of the most GWGs since 2024, and Sam Reinhart had 18. This one was number 19, so just coming up clutch consistently for the Cats. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to discuss the Panthers' upcoming game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and also Palmer's discuss when Matthew Tkachuk could possibly be back on the ice in a practice setting. We're going to discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Drip Drop. And hydration is truly important. And when I'm hydrated, everything just works out better. My focus, energy, mood, and even my skin. And that's why I'm using Drip Drop. It's doctor-developed hydration that helps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. Drip Drop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half of the sugar of leading brands using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. Hydration has become non-negotiable for me. Drip Drop helps me feel sharper, calmer, and honestly, just better overall. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off of your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard and keep your body and mind performing at their best with Drip Drop. Also, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. And the whole hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a real headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in. The app gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section and Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. You can find NHL tickets for just under $25. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Segment number 3 here on this Friday, November 14th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Fairbanks Friday edition of the show. Armando Velez, Nich Fairbanks here. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day on North America's #1 sports podcast network. So Paul Maurice, during morning skate, actually provided a little bit of an update on what he expects when he expects, Matthew Tkachuk to be back on the ice in a practice setting, and it could be up to 2 weeks that he could be back. So very encouraging sign, especially with the Panthers opening up this stretch of home games and an ability to bank points. So I'm very excited, but the expectation still remains the same, that mid to late December is going to be his return.
Yeah, and it's right on target. So, I mean, the sooner that they can get him on the ice, I mean, obviously the better. They want to get him up to speed. It's almost as if he's going to have to do his own mini camp to get back in shape and get up to game speed. But, all along, the Panthers have been able to tread water. I mean, they're not out of a playoff spot by any means, but, I mean, they're that close. And if you add a Matthew Tkachuk to what they're already doing, it's gravy. And then on top of that, I think special teams, especially the power play, maybe on the road will be a little bit better and give the Panthers a better chance. Plus, I think they could also use the energy or I can't even describe it, but the energy, I'll just say energy for the lack of my vocabulary, it appears to be.
I'll say the swagger.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Swaggy. The swagger, basically. He's going to be back in that room. He's going to have his belt or whatever they're doing when they win games, and he brings something different. And I can't thank Brad Marchand enough for doing what he's done this season, being that de facto veteran or captain on the team per se without Barkov and Tkachuk, and it's fit in nicely. But I think when Matthew Tkachuk comes back, you're going to see a little bit different of a team, and hopefully a little bit more elevated than what we have seen earlier this season.
Which, speaking of, Brad Marchand got point number 20 on the season. I know we mentioned point number 1,000, but he got point number 20, and the Panthers have not played game number 20. They just completed game number 17 on the season. So a big lift that the Panthers have been able to get, and also Sam Bennett's able to get his running mate again on that line. So that also creates a little bit of more of that balance as he's been with Jesper Rokas and Mackie Semiskevich for at least lately here for him. So it's going to be a big boost for the Florida Panthers to get him back. But again, whenever they actually clear him. But Panthers are going to be welcoming in the Tampa Bay Lightning at 5 p.m. on Saturday. And we were actually texting in our group chat during the game on Wednesday against the New York Rangers. And wow, what an absolute disaster of a game, especially in the first few minutes where I still don't understand how the New York Rangers are this bad at home and great on the road. But there's the amount of high danger chances that Tampa Bay was giving up. Yeah, there was no McDonough. There was no Victor Hedman in that game as well. Brandon Hagel also got hurt in that game as well. Braden Point only has 3 goals on the season, so he's struggling as well, and he's been playing. So the Tampa Bay Lightning, a little bit of an older team. And I thought that they still had a little bit of a runway for the division. I predicted that in prior to the season, but they were off to a rough start, and then they went on a little bit of a run. But this most recent one, oh man, if I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning player, I'm a little bit upset from that most recent game.
Yeah. Kind of want to decide which direction I want to go with this, because there was a lot of outcry saying that when Hagel got hit, he did get hit in the head, and that Soucy should have been penalized or at least a fine, and it's Hagel that ran into him. I feel bad for the guy, honestly, because that's 3 head injuries in the span of like 6 or 7 months, and you never want to see that. But
no doubt,
it is what it is. I mean, on the Panthers side of things, maybe don't touch Barkov next time. Just going to say it. And the other thing, too, is Andre Vasilevsky is not looking like Andre Vasilevsky at all. There might be something still wrong. He might be injured in some way, but the one goal that he gave up last night where he just fell over.
Against Trocheck. That was a Trocheck goal, right?
Yeah. And he just slid it like between his legs as he was falling. That's quite a sniper shot, if you ask me. But to me, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that team. I think that they still have the horses to be able to pull something off.
Yep.
So I'm never going to count them out. But there's definitely something that's going on. And I think part of the core, like Hedman, Vasilevsky, and now I'm going to include Kucherov into this, because if you watch last night's game, his body language looked exactly like it was during the Panthers and Lightning series. Just a lot of, looking up in the air and being disgusted.
Slamming the stick.
Exactly. So if he's already frustrated and we're only maybe 20 games in, there's definitely something wrong in paradise over there. And maybe John Cooper's got to figure it out. But you know what? Panthers can take advantage of that on Saturday, and hopefully the 2 guys that they decided to bring up for scoring.
Oh yeah, let's discuss that.
Yeah, that they brought them up for scoring, and it's not like we didn't notice. So
yeah, Nick Paul hasn't played at all this season. Anthony Cirelli is also day to day, and so guys are playing up a spot. So Yanni Gourde, who usually plays in the bottom six, took that second line center spot recently for the Bolts. So that just goes to show how much they're hurting. I mean, the Panthers are also hurting a little bit with their center depth as well, without Barkov all year. But look who they have up on their lineup, who they called up just a few days ago from Syracuse, Scott Sabourin. As we were very familiar with him from the preseason, as what happened in that final preseason game where the Panthers dressed the majority of a good amount of their regulars, and the Tampa Bay Lightning gooned it up a little bit. And we've seen a lot of these rough battles with the most recent playoff series, the last game of the regular season with Jesse Puljujarvi and his headshot there. So there's been a lot of the bad blood from most recent matchups. The Kucherov, Neon, Matthew Tkachuk this time last year on the back-to-back in this not this time last year, just in December of last year. But you know what I mean there. But still, it's all I'm ready. I have my popcorn ready for something especially when Scott Sabourin has the puck, especially going after Aaron Ekblad the way he did.
Yeah, and I would say this, and I think Yanni Gordon, Cooper said this because I was reading about them today. They said that they can't use injuries as an excuse, but they're obviously down a lot of bodies. Panthers aren't making an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're without arguably their best player and also their biggest swaggy guy. They have some other guys that are not on the team right now that are trying to heal up, but they're still finding ways to battle through and win. Now, my question to that Tampa Bay team is, are you guys looking to play hockey and play a hockey game on Saturday? Or is this still trying to settle scores? Because it probably will not end well for you either way. But in my opinion, just play the damn game. I mean, I understand people want to see fights and everything, and that's what, the shock and awe value gives us. But I want to see a good hockey game. I want to see these two teams actually battle it out. And to me, I want to see where the Panthers are at when they have to deal with Point, Kucherov. Maybe Hedman might be back. He might be out for longer. I want to see what the Panthers are going to be when Tampa actually has a few of their superstars going. And that'll give me a litmus test of where they probably are, in the Atlantic Division.
And I feel like we're guarding your question. I think it's going to be the former, and I think it's going to be settled early. And I'm interested to see, is John Cooper going to put that fourth line of Finley, Douglas, and Sabourin out, and then you could put the fourth line of AJ Greer. Is like, okay, settle it early, and then let's get to hockey. So that's my hope. That's my hope. And probably it's not going to end up being that way. But I just hope that we can get it over with and then get on to the game, and then we see another thrilling battle of Florida, because outside of the goonery stuff, this rivalry is fun and still still the best rivalry in the NHL as of right now. But before we wrap up today's show, I do want to give some condolences to the family of Larry Brooks. If you guys don't know who Larry Brooks is, he was a longtime writer for the New York Post, covering the Rangers for multiple decades, and just the guy who's not afraid to put his opinion out there, but also well-researched stuff. And every time the Rangers and the Panthers played, he was the one guy that I went to when it came to scouting the opposition, when it came to the Broadway Blue Shirts. So want to say my condolences there for Larry Brooks. So any words, Nick, by any chance, for Larry?
No, I don't, because I didn't really follow his work a lot. I'm just glad that a lot of people like yourself in the community are sending out their condolences, because there could have been some, back and forth with him during his career. And, it's never a good, I guess, idea to, go after or like speak of those times, because you know what, it's a job, and he was doing what he needed to do, and he did it well. So it's unfortunate the hockey community did lose him, but, hopefully, somebody else can come in and step in and do as good of a job, or maybe better. But hopefully his family will be, okay after this. And, I hope that the New York Rangers take good care of all their media people.
Yeah, and dying at 75 years old due to cancer. And I highly recommend you guys watching the video of what John Tortorella had to say about Larry Brooks after his passing, as those two have had their bits of war of words in the past when it came to some of their media scrums. And Larry Brooks covered 16 different head coaches during his time covering the Rangers. So that just a long tenure there for Larry Brooks. So an absolute legend when it comes to journalism in hockey. But Nick, I want to thank you so much for joining me on another edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. A 6-3 win for the Florida Panthers as they start off this homestand with a bang. So tell everybody where they can follow you online, my friend.
Appreciate it as always. You guys can follow me on X at Prudentia0. And I just want to give a shout out to Schwindt, who did score his second goal, and a guy who's been working really hard. So very happy to see him get his hard work paid off. But Armando, thank you again, and I'll see you next week.
Absolutely. See you next week, my friend. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on Locked On NHL Network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey with Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Nich Fairbanks. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.